was a student in the 60s, a time of social upheaval and questioning on a personal level, an awakening sense of idealism. The war in Vietnam was raging, the civil rights movement was underway, and pictures had a powerful influence on me. Our political and military leaders were telling us one thing, and photographers were telling us another. I believe the photographers, their images fueled resistance to the war and to racism. Information represented by journalism, specifically visual journalism, can bring into focus both the benefits and the costs of political policies. They not only recorded history, they helped change the course of history. It puts a human face on issues which from afar can appear abstract or ideological or monumental in their global impact. Society's problems can't be solved until they're identified. Seeing the war created such incredibly high stakes for everyone involved and that visual journalism could actually become a factor in conflict resolution, I wanted to be a photographer in order to be a war photographer. It gives a voice to those who otherwise would not have a voice. But I was driven by an inherent sense that a picture that revealed the true face of war would almost by definition be an anti-war photograph. I saw that the front lines of contemporary wars are not on isolated battlefields, but right where people live. This is a scene of house-to-house fighting in Mostar, neighbor against neighbor. Dead Serbian soldiers were collected after a battle and used as barter for the return of prisoners or Bosnian soldiers killed in action. Elsewhere in Africa, there was famine. Starvation was being used as a weapon of mass destruction, primitive but extremely effective. Hundreds of thousands of people were exterminated, slowly and painfully. I also wanted to be powerful and eloquent and to do as much justice as possible to the experience of the people I'm photographing. This man was in an NGO feeding center being helped as much as he could be helped. He literally had nothing. He was a virtual skeleton, yet he could still summon the courage and the will to move. He had not given up, and if he didn't give up, how could anyone in the outside world ever dream of losing hope? I left for Rwanda, and it was like taking the express elevator to hell. This man had just been liberated from a Hutu death camp. He even turned his face toward the light, as if he wanted me to see him better. I think he knew what the scars on his face would say to the rest of the world. The imprint of a man who'd been burned inside his own home. I went to Romania and discovered a kind of gulag of children, where thousands of orphans were being kept in medieval conditions. Children who couldn't be supported by their families were raised in government orphanages. Children with birth defects were labeled incurables and confined for life to inhuman conditions. These heroin addicts in detox in Pakistan reminded me of figures in a play by Beckett, isolated, waiting in the dark, but drawn to the light. In 2000, I began documenting global health issues, concentrating first on AIDS in Africa. I tried to tell the story through the work of caregivers. So many children have been orphaned by the epidemic that grandmothers have taken the place of parents. A hospital in Zambia. A malnourished child being measured as part of immense suffering in the Islamic world, from political oppression, civil war, foreign invasions, poverty, famine. I understood that in its suffering, the Islamic world had been crying out. Why weren't we listening?